What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Joe Garcia. Joining us back once again, we got Justin Ruderman out. He was out last week being sick, but he's back. Justin, a crazy, exciting weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody who got to enjoy either the game yesterday, spending time with their family, and is out of town. But you and I, we got to enjoy Messi coming into town. We got to see him from the pregame warmups and everything, even from like all the fans from being outside, all the Messi jerseys, all the Argentina jerseys, all the Barcelona jerseys. Talk about like the atmosphere outside leading up to the stadium and everything that you saw before the game started.
Yeah, I mean, I got there hours before the game as you did, and we both saw a packed Christmas tree lane, right? As packed as you're ever going to see it. And it was hours and hours before the game, and that atmosphere obviously carried into the game. I think it was, the first time probably that LAFC was just overwhelmed by the opposing fans, and they weren't necessarily Miami fans, obviously, but they were Messi fans, and three sides of that stadium were very, very pink last night. So it was it got very loud every time Messi touched the ball. Obviously, right? I mean that is when it got the loudest, more than if Fadias scored a goal. It's Messi touching the ball in the middle of the park that gets everybody excited, which is what that night was about, really. And I think Chiellini summed it up at the end of the night very well, just saying that it's a big moment for MLS, even if LAFC didn't get the result that they wanted. It's a big moment, BMO Stadium attendance record, big stage in LA with all of the celebrities that we know are there and all of these type of things just to come and watch Messi, because he continues to do this every single game. And even though you might not even look at this game and say, well, it's not one of those Messi games, right? Well, he got 2 assists and was probably the best man on the pitch.
Yeah, no, and just to go back a little bit, even before like you walk to the stadium, I got there hours early and it was just packed. I got to see the Messi jerseys being sold. I think just leading up to the stadium, and you got to see how big the moment was. And even just walking around, like you said, the Christmas tree lane, the pregame festivities, and all that. And I think one thing that MLS has never done, or they've done at BMO Stadium, is they had the entrance, like the main entrance to the fans, kind of gated off with kind of like a black fence, and they didn't even have that for the MLS final, and they did it for Messi, just a regular season game, and that kind of tell you the kind of could tell you the stature of the game and what it meant and everything, and obviously being a holiday weekend, you expected a lot of fans, and I got to talk with some fans and interview a few of them, and one guy spent I think $1,200 on a ticket, which was just insane to hear on a ticket. But he said, it's like to see Messi, he would do it over it again. So, well, which was just cool, which is a crazy thing to hear and to see, because it's just like a regular season game, but it just goes to show even more. I think that puts Messi's magnitude even bigger, right? Because people are willing to spend no matter what just to see him play and all these different things. And I think seeing that, and then as soon as we saw Messi in warm ups and everything, and when he first took the pitch at BMO Stadium, I think it was kind of like a special moment just to see how everybody was reacting and seeing the pink and blue jerseys all over BMO Stadium.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point because a lot of people did want to sell their tickets. I thought a lot of people thought about it and didn't do it. But it's one of those experiences that it almost doesn't really matter the money, and it's obviously anybody who's saying that is privileged to a point, but it's saying that like this is a once in a lifetime experience, right? And the way that I really phrased it to people, I was talking to people before the game, that some people said, well, the only way I would have sold is if I got 2/3 of my season ticket price back or the full season ticket price back, just for this game. And that's the threshold that people were putting this at to sell their tickets, because the way that I described it is, how much would you pay right now to go watch a game Michael Jordan play basketball? Right? I mean, how much would you pay? Because that is what it is with Messi, because there's only a few years left of this, and it is a once in a lifetime experience of watching the greatest to ever do it right in front of your own eyes. And to me, that is almost priceless.
Yeah, and it's especially if you're just a fan of the sport and who he is, right? Arguably the greatest player ever, and just to be able to see that and just the magnitude, and I think you and I were talking about. I don't know if you asked me. They're like, or someone in the press box had asked me. They're like, "Did you ever think you would see Messi play?" And I was like, honestly, no. I was like, maybe if he was like in, I don't know, like for the Argentinian national team, or maybe when he was back in Barcelona or something like that. Like I was like, yeah, maybe back then. But I was like, and when he was at PSG, I was like, no, I don't think I ever thought. But like once he signed with Inter Miami, I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna be able to see him play, right? So it's like it's crazy how this kind of like just has evolved and everything, and just a special moment. But you're even seeing it from the LAFC players this morning, the day after the game, Chiellini posting about it and all these different things, the respect, even John McCarthy getting his jersey and all these different things. It's kind of a unique experience to see players compete with them, but then also right after the game they want a picture. Well, I don't know if I saw anybody take a picture, but they want a photo. They Chiellini took a photo with his kids and all these things like that. Like it just when you see athletes be fan of other athletes, like right after a game, it just shows you the magnitude of Messi.
Yeah. And that's, whatever. I mean, that has been the criticism of teams to a point where they're just starstruck almost a little bit when they're on the pitch. And I think, maybe we did see that a couple times in the first few games, but I think that has worn off to me. And I think, they said it before the game that, before and after the game, you could admire him. You can think about how big the moment is, but on the pitch, they're all professional footballers, and they gotta stick it in. And I think we saw that John McCarthy came up with a massive save on Messi 1v1, and probably is why Messi was willing to give him a shirt after, right? Because he said, "Well, you denied me. You came up with a big save. You earned it."
Yeah, no, yeah, that was cool to see. All right, let's talk about this game because man, LAFC had plenty of opportunities to score. They had so many counterattacks, but they just couldn't score. They couldn't get anything offensively in that final third, even though they were breaking the lines. Well, offensively, what did you see in that first half? Because I think there was a couple moments that LAFC could have definitely got scored on, got the first goal, or potentially have a big lead in that first half.
Certainly. I mean, LAFC came out of the gates, I mean, with all types of energy, right? And I think that's what LAFC fans wanted to see off of the break, where Miami have, a few days rest versus a full week for LAFC, and an eagerness to go and break the bad performance from Charlotte, right? And that's what we saw. But then the ball just went hit the back of the net. Mainly it was Denny Bawanga, right? He missed a couple 1v1s in the first 25 minutes or so. And even worse than that, he made the terrible decision, of course, not to pass to Carlos Vela on his right side, which everybody is, of course, comparing to when Messi was there and he passed to Campana, which was basically the same exact position. And Campana took it on his left foot and buried it just the way that Vela likely would have, right? So it was those final third things. And then I think that, in the first half hour, LAFC were getting through because I think the game was a little bit more open, but the first goal helped Miami to slow things down,
Hmm.
play a little bit more compact, I think, from the 30th minute on, especially in the second half, and made things more difficult for LAFC. But they also created more on the offensive end, and they had some beautiful runs of play. That second goal specifically, the combination between the Barcelona trio was just a gorgeous goal, with Busquets and Alba specifically showing their football IQ on the play, even more than Messi really, but Messi connected the two, and it was just really really incredible in that respect.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to go back a little bit. I think seeing the poor job that Danny Bouanga did last night. I was just surprised how off he was from his game. And just to go back in that play, you have this one. I think it's or two versus one, or and you have Carlos
3v2, yeah.
Vela, three versus two, and you have the opportunity to get on the counterattack. And I think I was very shocked to see Wonga, just like everybody, not pass the ball and be selfish and want to take that shot and want to be the hero. And I think recently we've seen from Denny Bouanga, he's trying to do too much. And I don't know for whatever reason why he's trying to do too much and not playing in the ball. And I think that I don't think I've ever seen Carlos Vela that upset right away at someone, at a player, and just curse and all these different things, right? I think we've all seen the video, and rightfully so. Carlos Vela has every way to feel that way, but I think also Denny Bouanga has to understand that this is not necessarily his team yet, right? This is still Carlos Vela's team, and you still, in a way, have to respect that. And I don't think him doing that, like him being that selfish and wanted to be the star and wanted to do all that. I don't know what's going on with LAFC, or if there's just a Denny Bouanga, but I've started to see like like something is not clicking with them, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know what's going on, but I think seeing that frustration from Carlos Vela, I would have to assume there's been a lot of stuff going on, whether they're not gelling in practice or whatever. But because if you're flowing, that is an easy pass. That is an easy pass, and I think for whatever reason, Denny Bouanga is trying to do too much. Is trying to be the man, and it doesn't understand that Carlos Vela has been putting the reason why Denny Bouanga has been Denny Bouanga with LAFC is because Carlos Vela has helped him get there, those goal opportunities. He's assisted him all these different things, and when it comes to the different things, I think they could obviously bounce back from this, but I just don't understand why that situation needed to be so selfish on coming from one side and not wanting to put your teammate. And let's say let's play a little hypothetical. Let's say Carlos Vela scores that goal, all the momentum shifts is right. You obviously scores a goal in the 8th minute because they kept breaking the lines and everything. And then Boanga had like 2 shots on goal who he couldn't score. And I just think like the momentum just changes for LAFC. Would they have won? I don't know. But I know starting off with Carlos Vela getting a goal, how motivated he was to beat Messi and Inter Miami, right? How we saw him play. How you everybody can tell how motivated Carlos Vela is when he plays, right? Like when he plays certain games, you're like, oh yeah, he's super motivated. He just turns it on a little bit more than others. And you can tell, obviously, this game he was ready and wanted to turn it on. But I just think that pass just kind of set the tone for the game, at least for me, because I kept seeing Danny Bouanga just do too much this game.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point because I think as of recently, that is where Denny Bouanga has really improved, is not making those selfish decisions and going himself, right? Because he has been the top scorer all season and he's been that guy, but over the past 5 games, he's had an assist in each of those games. He's been passing it off. He's had 2 assists in his last 3, or 3 assists in his last 2 games. Excuse me. So it's like he's turning into a provider as well, but then he doesn't make it in the big moment, in the big game, which is just a really confusing thing to me. I don't know if it's the confidence, because obviously he's now 5 games consecutive in league play without a goal, which is the first time he's done that since his first 5 games in MLS. So, I don't know if there's a confidence thing. I don't know exactly if what you're saying between Vela, that he was very frustrated, obviously. I'm not sure what the frustration was the last time. I think I don't know what boiled to have him have that reaction, because Vela doesn't normally have that reaction, even if he thinks a teammate doesn't make the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time that we had that type of reaction out of Vela that I can remember is when Bob Bradley subbed him out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He I think he threw down the armband or something. He was very
Yeah.
upset about it. But that was 2 years ago,
And then that
basically. So,
relationship was never good. That's when I
of
realized
course,
I don't want to assume that it's that level with Denny Bouanga, but
no.
I don't think it's like Denny Bouanga and Carlos Vela are the relationship's over by any means. But I feel like there's some stuff that's been going on either in games or practices. 'Cause Carlos Vela is very passive. And I haven't gotten to know Denny Bouanga as a person or anything like that, but I kind of
It's
know.
hard.
I
It's
kind
hard
of
because he doesn't speak English
Yeah,
or
it's hard because
Spanish, right? He speaks
he doesn't
French.
speak
Yeah.
he only speaks French, and right. But I feel like there's something that's been going on in practice, and something's been going on in practice between them two. This is all assumption, because the way Carlos Vela reacted was like, that to kick the shit out of the ball, like waste Kaya and pretty much cuss him out, cuss him out, said the F word and that is BS and all these different things. Like I think kicking the ball and like natural frustration was expected, but all the other cuss words and everything like that, um, I think that might have been something boiling up between them two. I would assume just from the reaction. I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I think just from that natural reaction and how he just like let it all out, something might have happened, or it just may be because he really wanted to be Messi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what you hope it is, right? Because
Yeah.
you're gonna try and read into it when there's that type of reaction out of a player on the pitch. Obviously, it was the wrong decision by Bouanga. We all understand that. But the reaction is still a lot more than you're generally going to see out of Vela. So hopefully, it was just that he was so motivated to beat Messi. He wanted to prove that he is that number 10 that can still put his name in lights in MLS, but it is Messi's league right now, no question about it.
Yeah, and I think also too the quotes that Carlos Vela when he was asked, I think by Katia about playing against Messi, I think I could tell kind of Vela was a little annoyed by the repeated questions about Messi and facing him.
Mm.
It was in Spanish, and I saw and a lot of like less Spanish media really picked it up, and I saw it on social media, and obviously Messi fans were like in a way making fun of Carlos Vela because he wasn't showing respect to Messi in a way or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think that this thing is maybe to keep an eye out between Carlos Vela and Buanga and all these different things because if those two guys aren't clicking together, LAFC is not gonna their season, their playoff hopes are gonna be very, very short. I will tell
Can
you that. I
can
will
we
tell you
throw
that.
can we throw Mario Gonzalez into the mix
Oh
of
my
gelling
goodness. Well,
because
yeah, let's talk.
because
Well, let's talk about him. Let's talk about him because I oh my god.
I mean,
Go
look,
ahead,
he's
Justin.
new.
Go ahead.
Look, he's new, but the guy has been ghosting almost every game, and I am, as you know, Gio, I am never one to jump on somebody early. I'm always one to say, give him time, give him time. I have been impressed with Gonzalez's hold up play. I will continue to praise anything I see positively out of him, but he's not getting a ton of chances. The chances that he is getting, he's not finishing. Right, the one goal in Charlotte. It's tough to see he's not really seems to have any relationship yet with the other two attackers, right? And if you believe that those two attackers are then not gelling either, it's a front three that's not gelling, and
Yeah.
that for a team built like LAFC that needs to outscore an opponent, right? That was the plan last night. Make no mistake about it. The plan was to outscore Inter Miami. It wasn't to keep a clean sheet. That is not going to work if your front three is not gelling.
Well, I also think too, it's like when he got here right before Monterrey, right? And this would
Mm,
be what his third game now with LFC, including that
yeah.
Monterrey game. This would be his third game, right? They played Monterrey
Four.
fourth game. Okay, let's put a fourth game. I think with new players like Mario Gonzalez, you're gonna have to give them 2 months. So let's say July, middle of July, July, September, October. I think by October he should, in my opinion, if he's gonna be the guy, he should show us by October because
So
I think
playoffs.
yeah. So because it takes like it's hard for someone just to click right away. I think Buanga kind of did it. Yeah, Bonga did it last season, but there's very
Bolonga,
few players that do it.
yeah, he took
Just in MLS in general. Obviously, Messi is Messi. There's a couple other players, but I think when you get adapted to a new league, you come into a new country and all these different things. Middle of the season is so hard to do. Unless you're a Messi, unless you're one of these top six players, a Zlatan and all these different players, right? I think like Mario Gonzalez. I think we have to. I will give him to October, but no one like to completely like write him off because, uh, yeah, like I think the hardest thing about Mario is that Vela and Buanga aren't clicking. And it's like you can have Mario not necessarily gel with the team because he's still getting to know the movements. He's still going to know where Carlos Vela likes the ball, how Buanga, how he goes on the one-on-one and where he cuts the ball back. Those are just things that it's going to take time. And
Yeah.
it's just going to take time with Mario understanding the certain movements, the cuts. Okay, I've seen Vela do this move, all right, and I when he does this move, he tends to put the ball here, or you know what I'm saying, like I need to make my run here, or just different things. Those are just like game time. Like you can't even think. You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
those are going to take. So
But
I'll give
it's
him like 2 months, but like. But when like when Vela and Boanga are gelling, like it just messes the whole thing up for them. So it's gonna be brutal if like I'm saying if they don't click, and you're gonna have to give them at least 2 months.
yeah. Yeah, I think the one thing for me that should be more obvious right now is his target man ability, because I mean, LAFC was crossing the ball constantly last night, right? That's where the one goal came from. That's where they were trying to exploit in a lot of ways. Was crossing the ball into the box, whether that was from a corner or just from open play, but he didn't really make any threats, with his head from those crosses. He's supposed to be in that area doing that, and I think we have seen. Okay, he notices that he can drop deep when LAC need to hit on the counter attack. He can drop, hold up play, have Denny Bouanga come on the overlap, feed him the ball back, and that is a very attack. That's how Denny Bouanga can get on the counter attack very easily and get in behind opponent's defense, as he did a couple times against Miami. But if you can understand that so quickly, I'm struggling to understand why there's a lag with everything else. I agree with you though. Like Boanga didn't score in his first 5 games for LAFC, right? And then he broke that streak to basically win them the Supporter Shield in Portland. And things are only up from there, obviously. So things can turn around quickly if Mario gets maybe some confidence that he needs with a goal or two.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I think even to this after the Monterrey game, like him starting was a big shock for me to start and get that many minutes on a big game like this, and I think like that, like for him, like he just disappeared in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like there was nothing. There's nothing that I can recall he did like that was impactful. At yesterday's game, and I think to like for him, it's just like right. You expect more, you want more goals out of him, but I just think it's going to take him so much more time, and that's why I feel like I don't want to go back to it. It's like I think people that wanted Chicho to stay and appreciate and love him, they keep saying like we should have kept Chicho and all these different things. All the things that they want from a number 9, Chicho did, and Chicho did it his best and was able to put the team on his back. Right now, if Bwanga's not doing his thing, I just don't see that hunger or that from Mario to be like, I got us, right? I can do this, or I can, you don't see the individual talent just yet. But I don't know, like usually from strikers, you see like, oh, this guy just took on 2 or 3 guys. Like maybe he's not clicking, but that guy individually has that skill to put the team on his back. And I haven't seen it from Mario, and I don't know if we will because I'm not sure if he has it because from the limited time, I just don't know if he is that guy, in my opinion.
And that to me is going to be the detriment of Mario Gonzalez at LAFC over the long term is comparing him constantly to Chicho Arango, because I think it is an unfair comparison, just because I think Chicho is a higher level, and I, as you say, we don't have to go back and harp on it over and over again, but LAC shouldn't have let him go. It wasn't a very good decision, and we know the reason really is because he didn't fit the Steve Cherundolo's game model, right? He didn't play the way that Steve Cherundolo wants. He doesn't do this hold up play. He doesn't move around a lot. He doesn't shift to the wings. He doesn't do these type of things. No, he doesn't press, right? But he scores goals, and to me, that is what a striker does, right? He is, I think, the fourth highest rate of goals per game in MLS history, minimum 50 games, right? We're talking about one of the greatest goal scorers in MLS history at that point, and you're just letting him go. I don't understand that decision. I think it would never have made sense. And I think we're seeing that now when you bring in a quality number 9 in Mario Gonzalez, but he's just not going to even come close to living up to that level, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's is it quick question? Is it do you hear that static noise, or is it just me? Okay, it's just me.
I don't.
But yeah, I think the when Steve said that about like that, like how it was weird. I don't recall exactly, but valuing the goal, scoring goals is just hard, right? And I think Chicho did that, and Chicho put his team on his back. And I think that that's just gonna happen with Mario to be that guy. It's the same thing that when Brian Rodriguez wasn't producing, he got labeled a certain way. And it's unfortunate that that's going to happen to Mario. But I think, look, he's a professional. He's coming here to score goals. And if he doesn't score goals as a number 9, as a striker, that is your job. Then that's on you. But that's also on the coaching staff and also on the recruiting on what they did. And I think also, too, like part of this kind of like outside of like Mario and all these things, I think also like if we look at the game plan on a couple of things, like I think Steve Cherundolo like has had it like I think he owned up to it yesterday about like their performance, but like it also hasn't been good from Steve Cherundolo. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's a couple players like the lineup. I think like Murillo should have started. Murillo should have started. If you're gonna put Aaron Long, Chiellini's not gonna go 90 minutes. So I think a couple things like that, putting Murillo, Palacios could have started. Like there's just a couple different moves that I was like, I don't understand like what's going on. Tillman, like I don't know, like is he not fit for 90 minutes? I love what I saw from Tillman earlier this year. I know he's kind of like faded from the start of rotation. So there was a couple moves that I felt like definitely I feel like Murillo should have started. I don't know his status, his situation. If he's injured, he's not available to play for 49 minutes. But like Murillo should always start if he's healthy, and then you can pair him up with Aaron Long. To me, Aaron Long has been. I don't think he's starter worthy. I think he's bench worthy, but I don't think Aaron Long should be playing 90 minutes, in my opinion. And I think you saw towards the end when Messi or when Campana got his third goal, like he wasn't able to like the third goal kind of was in his fault in his way because I think he tried to chest it down or whatever, and it led to the breakaway thing. But I think Murillo to me is the best center back LAFC has, and then you can kind of go from there.
Well, he's not better than Chiellini, but
If you're gonna play on full 90 minutes, someone's gonna play full 90 minutes.
taking Chiellini over any center back in the league.
I'm not taking Chiellini now at LAFC. Maybe Chiellini back in the day. But if I want someone to play full 90 minutes from LAFC and I need someone to play and start, I'm taking Murillo to start, and then I'll play Chiellini the last 45. Like the last 45 because Chiellini cannot play 90 minutes, and to me,
I don't know. He to me he's showed he can over the past month or so.
No,
But
no.
but regardless, I think over the last month or so also we've seen that Aaron Long and Giorgio Chiellini is Steve Cherundolo's preferred center back pairing, right?
Those aren't the best. Those aren't.
I agree that it should be Giorgio Chiellini and Jesus Murillo. I think obviously the mistakes that Aaron Long made last night were pretty clear, but it's one of those things, right, where he has to make those decisions. And Aaron Long is being paid $1.2 million. He brought him in because they've been wanting him for years, and he's the guy that's meant to start, really, I think. But it's tough when he is going to say that, individual mistakes, which is fair enough from Aaron Long. He wants to talk about that, Steve Cherundolo, right, after the game. But then he's also going to say it's his fault for those performances not coming off. So it definitely goes both ways. And whether Palacios as well was available fully, I don't know exactly. So these are decisions. Tillman we can talk about as well, because it's one where when he first got to LAFC, he hit the ground running, right? He didn't need a settling in period, but it seems now, after, whether you want to call it after that CCL final or you want to call it after his injury, he's definitely been in a slump since. So there are definitely some talking points and question marks there. But yeah, I think for me, the biggest one is in agreement with you that it is Jesus Murillo. I think should have started over Aaron Long. And I think going forward, it'll be interesting to see because, like I said, it has shown that Steve Cherundolo likes the partnership of Long and Chiellini, even though I think the majority of the LAFC fan base, would disagree with that.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm saying. Those decisions are clearly on Steve Cherundolo, and like for whatever reason. And we've seen this year, Steve Cherundolo has had decisions have not gone his way. And it's unfortunate. This season, it's been a lot tougher on Steve Cherundolo to make just certain decisions. But it's just like look, yeah, obviously we don't know what goes on in practice and who stands out more and all these different things, but clearly we're seeing these game ones, and we're like, I don't know why that guy's starting, and I don't know why,
Well,
like, like,
eh,
to me it's like, well, hold on, let me finish. To me it's like, when I see Aaron Long, and it's just there's just different things, and also like when Jordi Alba got that goal, who ended up getting beat, I think Palencia got beat, or whoever got beat. There's just certain things that I'm just like, oh man, maybe it's not just on Steve Sharona, maybe that's on the players, those goals and those counterattacks. But I think also just certain decisions could have been made a little bit better. But look, you are facing Messi, you are facing a solid team. But LAFC is not like that much lower than Inter Miami. Like, this is supposed to be a head to head. It didn't feel like that. It felt like Inter Miami was miles and miles ahead of LAFC, and LAFC kind of looked like a novice team. And look, that happens when you're facing the greatest player ever. But like, it shouldn't be that big of a distinction when Nashville just showed you, like, hey, you can really frustrate him. You can really bump him. This is how you have to play Messi and these different things. I think the formula is there, and I just don't think LAFC was able to necessarily uh, capitalize on it, because they really didn't knock or hit Messi like the way Nashville did. Maybe Nashville already had that experience. They already had that. Some of the players already had that starstruck experience that first game, that first go round, and they got to play them again. And typically, you are better when you play a game twice, especially within a month or within a couple of weeks, like Nashville did. And I feel like LAFC could have just been, if they would have been a little bit more physical on Messi, would have hit him a little bit more, like clean tackles, but you're aggressive. I didn't see that from LAFC, and I feel like that kind of falls down on the players, but also Steve Sharona. Like, sometimes you do got to play a little not so clean, to put it straight up. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you got to injure the player, but you gotta make sure he's felt. Even if it's the greatest player, you got to rough him up. And I just feel like LAFC never did that to Messi.
yeah, and I think to me it goes back to another piece for me, which is just that last year the main praise for Steve Cherundolo was what, right? His second half adjustments.
Yep.
Right? He continually made, whether it was tactical, personnel, etc., he would change the game in the second half. LAFC would score way more goals. They would come back. They would beat teams. They would gain points throughout second halves, throughout the season. That's how they won the Supporters Shield and eventually MLS Cup. But this season, that has not been the case outside of, the first 5 games of the season, maybe. It has been extremely difficult, and I think Josh Gross asked Ilie yesterday why that is. And Ilie said one thing is that obviously teams want to take their best shot at LAFC and these type of things, but I think the question marks need to be asked about why that's happening, because there has to be more reasoning than just, well, teams are trying a little bit harder against us. No, it has to be more than that.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, you're right. It's definitely more than that, and I think also that they're not as deep as they were last year, right? They had like Bell, they had Teo, and all these different things, but like, still, like, I just feel like obviously the roster is not as deep, but at the same time, I think that certain coaching decisions aren't as they're not as good as they were last year, right? And like every year it's different, but yeah, it's interesting to see the drop of Steve Cherundolo's and his coaching decisions this year, because it hasn't been as in sync as we've seen the best of Cherundolo in that first year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think right now with LAFC, with the type of year, look, they're still towards the top. Obviously, they're still going to make a significant playoff run. But I just think the way this momentum's starting to go with them, it's weird, and I don't think I don't know if I feel as strong on LAFC as I did at the start of the year. Now I just
Oh,
don't think. I don't think anybody feels as strong as LAFC anymore.
definitely not. And I think it's key to me what you just said is, well, they're obviously going to make a significant playoff run. Well, is that obvious anymore? Because they are 7 points back of first place in the Western Conference, in third place now, right? But they are much closer to eighth place, 4 points above that only. right? It is that tight in the Western Conference. So if LAFC doesn't go into Portland on turf where they're probably not going to have Chiellini and pick up some points on the road, break this streak, then they got to come home, play an El Trafico against a very motivated Galaxy who will be trying to make playoffs themselves, right? They have Campeones Cup coming up. They have and then a huge matchup with St. Louis that's going to be very, very important in this race. So Salt Lake coming up in about a month as well. So it's like these games coming up are going to be very, very big in terms of how LAFC can place themselves going into that playoffs. Because yes, you assume they'll make playoffs, obviously, but whether they can finish in that upper echelon still is now a question mark to me. Because if they don't keep up the pace, then the rest of the teams in the Western Conference are going to want to hunt them down.
Yeah, and look, in that game against the Galaxy, the Galaxy is going to bring it. And obviously, the last game, the Galaxy obviously beat them right at the Rose Bowl. So that's going to be another not easy game. And I think that will also tell us more about this team and the tough tough road ahead, what they potentially have here come MLS playoffs time. But look, Justin, I think we definitely got a lot. We definitely covered everything. Look, I think also it was cool, like just to kind of finish up. Just to see where the league has grown, being able to see obviously Messi and all these different things, and where potentially we see LAFC. And I definitely think we should keep an eye on what Messi with Carlos Vela and Bouanga and that pairing, and how that goes, and also too if Steve Cherno can get these guys grooving again, because it's a lot of stop and go. It's a lot of like you get a win. You lose, so they need to finish strong towards the end of the season, because if not, if it's a lot of back and forth, then there's gonna be like you said, it's gonna potentially be a toss up, and they may not have that deep of a run this year.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, those questions definitely need to be asked about LAFC, but as far as the night, yeah, it's good to keep that perspective on how incredible that night was if you were there. Congratulations for being there to experience it. And if not, hopefully you will also get a chance in the next year or two to witness Messi in person, because hopefully he will not be leaving anytime soon. It will be, it's a privilege, and we're both very lucky to have been there.
Yeah. So with that, guys, that wraps things up for Justin. This is Gio. We'll catch you